welcome everyone, and very nice to have all of you as part of this webinar. I hope you guys can see me. So what I'm going to do is definitely share with you certain interviewing skills or ideas which can be helpful for you all to have an impactful interview. But we'll also, add, what I will encourage, and Gayatri can help me around this, is if you guys have questions on sections that I take you through, please keep writing. And I will try answering them while in the session, or if some of them come in later, I will sort of work with Gayatri and get back to all of you. So we'll ensure that we try answering as much questions as possible. Gayatri, Himani is saying it's not audible. Is it audible for you?
Yes, Harshita, I can hear it. I will chat with Himani and sort it out.
Sure. So what I'm going to do is, before we start, I'll quickly just give you, and Gayatri, thank you for introducing me. I'll quickly just give you a little overview of who I am. So I am Harshita. I worked as the corporate talent manager in Nestlé. My job pretty much entails leading a team which takes care of talent acquisition, leading a team which takes care of learning and development, and leading a team which takes care of people development, which is around processes, diversity, and inclusions and pieces like that. So all of that is what sits in the talent team at Nestlé. And so let's just quickly get into what we are trying when we talk about interviewing skills. And I'm now going to try sharing my screen. You can see my screen, right, Gayatri?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so I've just named this session very simply as a session on how to give impactful interviews, or how to be impactful in an interview. Having been a recruiter for a fair bit of time myself, and having led the talent acquisition team, I think an interview is that opportunity. And to start with, I would just start by saying that any opportunity of an interview or an interaction that you get, first prepare yourself to give in a 500%, or whichever percent you think is the highest in your mind for every such interaction. Because these are the interactions which talk beyond just your resume that a person would have seen. So an interview or an interaction is extremely, extremely important. I'm going to move on to certain slides and keep talking to you. So this is me. This is where it starts. I have still included a little bit of things. Gayatri has told me that they have had a webinar on how do you make a CV. But I've just added some simple steps, because before you go into an interview, it is very important that you should have sort of taken care of the resume that you're submitting. Very simple. A resume should be telling a compelling story. When we say a story, it's not like a para that you write in a resume that we're talking about, but we're talking about whether you write a chronological resume or you write a functional resume. It should be able to give a person an idea of what all skills on the table are you bringing. So make sure that your resume captures all of that. Doesn't mean that you make it long, but you do make it very, very crisp in terms of capturing your experience. The opening should be strong. I always suggest that a couple of lines in terms of an overview or a snapshot of experience a resume should have. Share job relevant information, share accomplishment, not responsibilities. A lot of times we write, I have in this job, I did everything that the job had to do. The point is the job had to do that. So share your accomplishments in that job rather than your responsibilities. Because by the nature of the job, you're supposed to do some of them. Make it readable, not necessarily cram information into a one page. A 1 to a 2 page resume is fine. Tweak it for every opportunity. As a talent acquisition person who's led a talent acquisition team also, I can tell you that each one of us, even when I was in the job market, we tweaked the resume as per the job that we applied, because we all can come up with a number of experiences that we've had. So let's do tweak your job, your resume for that job. For example, if as an HR person, I apply for a talent acquisition job, my resume will look a little different. If I apply for a business partnering job, it will look different. So do make sure that the resume is tweaked. And of course, I hope a lot of you do have LinkedIn profiles. LinkedIn is today really becoming a platform where every kind of talent acquisition person or whoever you talk about when they are looking out for candidates to start with, they do go to LinkedIn and do a job. So just like I just wanted to mention these few points because before you approach an interview, do make sure some of these are covered from a resume or a LinkedIn profile point of view. Now, deep diving into interviewing skills to start with. So, is it just that moment or that 1 hour or 45 minutes that you get in an interview which is important? No. A preparation before that or a follow up after that are as important. So, let's look at some of the things that you do before an interview. So, research the company, the role, and the interviewer. A lot of times, what we do is of course, the role that we are going into is a role that we are aware of and we're functionally there and we're all prepared. But what we forget is to really see which is the company that we're going to. For example, I'm part of Nestle. There are a lot of things about Nestle I know, but there are a fair bit of things about Nestle I also do not know. For example, what was the last amount of business that the company had done in the country? What was the growth that the companies had over the last 2 3 years? If as a person you go in informed about it, when you're talking to the interviewer, you can always build this information within that interview. What does it do to the interviewer? It makes the interviewer feel yes, the person's really excited and very interested in this job, right? LinkedIn, as I've already mentioned, is becoming an extremely important portal where people go and search for candidates. The other thing that a lot of people do this time and again, as an interviewer, what it would reflect to me is that if you research about me, if I'm interviewing you, you should have checked on my profile who's the person that I'm going and talking to, right? So that's the other thing that we do expect from a candidate, and we do generally advise people who are going into an interview. Definitely search on the LinkedIn profile of the person who's going to go and interview, who's going to be your interview. Have a conversation with whoever has, whether you've gone through a consultant or whoever has touch base with you for an interview, to check that from what are the expectations from the job. Do ask for a JD or a job profile, whatever it is called, and try understanding from it what is it that they are specifically looking for, because that will help you then talk about those things more in an interview, right? So do get that information for yourself. Please understand, if a recruiter or a person who calls you for an interview is asked to give this information, it does not leave a bad impression about you. Rather, it leaves an impression on us that the person is really serious about the job, and I should provide as much information to the person as possible. Please remember, today the job recruitment, the whole market is not so much company oriented. It is not that what I want I will get as an organization. It is more of a candidate oriented job market, right? So the candidates have a lot of power, and each one of us in the companies understand that, because you guys can look up the company website, you can write about the company on social media. So it is a very candidate oriented market. So if you need information on the job you're going into, if you want to ask questions, please ask those questions. No more does the other side ever feel that why am I being questioned so much. So please have questions in your minds and get them clarified, whether before the interview, during the interview, but for your benefit to be impactful in an interview, please go in armed with all the information that can help. Okay, so that's the one thing I definitely want to establish. Of course, ask people that you're going in the interview to say what is going to be the format. How many people am I going to meet? Is it going to be one round? Is it going to be two rounds? You can even ask, are they going to be case studies, or it's just going to be a face-to-face interaction? Any kind of question which will help you prepare better, please ask those questions. Okay, these are just indicative of some of the things that you can look at. Selection process. So ask them, okay, I've given this interview, how many more rounds will happen? Then how much time will it take for me to get an offer if I get selected? Is there anything else at this point in time? Do you want me to give any references of people and things like that? Now, again, still on before the interview, know your resume in detail. Be very clear of, so please understand, anything that you write on the resume, you should be very clear about it. Even if it's a word, it's a half a sentence, the person who's looking at your resume can ask you anything. So you should be a master in and out of every word that is written on your resume. Have your story very clear. So where are you coming from? What are your objectives? What is the role? What do you want to do? Why does this opportunity make sense in your career path? Right, all of that. Be very prepared with all of that. The last thing is just around preparation. If anybody ever asks me, to be very honest today, to say what is it that I should do for an interview, the only answer I give is prepare, prepare, and prepare. Okay. To be very honest, each one of us, and we've even had senior people who we've interviewed, we've seen that those people have really, really come prepared for an interview. Just don't go by the fact that I have known the role, I can answer any question around it, it's all okay, I don't need to prepare. No. Each one of us, every opportunity of interview has to prepare. Do mock interviews. If you ask me, will sound very rudimentary to you, but if I ever go in for an interview, I still write down the answers to certain questions that I think definitely will be asked. So please do that. You can even, so if you're going after a specific thing, you have a specific experience, you can even Google, and Google will throw questions at you that probably can be asked during an interview. So please do that research before you get into an interview. Spend that time for yourself. Take my example. If I am going for a learning development job, and I understand one of the competencies which is being looked for in the job is stakeholder management, right? What will I do? I will do this. I will think in my experience, what are those 2 or 3 top instances where I manage stakeholders very well, and I will sort of go through those stories in my head and be ready for those kind of answers, because I know one of the things needed in the job that I'm applying for is around stakeholder management. So get ready with those kind of instances. Now, how can you get ready with those instances? And this is the major part of the conversation and interaction that I want to have with you guys today. How is it that we can prepare around those stories? So this is a technique which helps you prepare around those stories. This technique is called as the SCAR technique. Sorry, I think you guys lost it. Yeah, just a sec. Gayatri, you lost my screen, right?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Just a sec. Yeah. So we are back at the SCAR stories. Sorry. Yeah. So the technique of telling these stories or experiences or instances from your experience, this technique is called as SCAR. It's a very known technique. SCAR is also known by different names that you can give this technique. But the technique of telling these experiences or stories is called as SCAR. Not a very positive word, but sort of puts together what is needed to be done and told about an experience very nicely together. What does the SCAR tell you? It tells you, tell about a situation, tell about the challenge in that situation, tell about the action you took in that situation, and what was the result of the same. Right? So we are simply saying this, whether it's a behavioral competency that a person is asking you, for example, tell me an example where you showed result focus, or tell me an example where you showed teamwork. Or if someone is saying, give me an example where you, if you're looking for an IT job, give me an example where you decoded a code or did some data analysis or whatever. For every situation, you can use the SCAR technique. It says, explain the situation. So, for example, you will say, for result orientation, I'm talking about, if that's the competency being sort of assessed for you, you'll say, okay, I had a situation where I had a very difficult and a deadline to be met, and that was what I had to do. Uh, and so the situation was something like, tomorrow is the deadline and I had to finish a project today, but I was not getting enough data from the people. So that was the situation. What was the challenge? The challenge was that I had a smaller timeline. I had to collaborate with a lot of people. So there were a lot of challenges. What was the action that you took? Please remember, when you answer certain questions, specifically if you are being asked of individualistic competencies like result orientation or any functional competency, talk about what you did. Do not use words like we did this, we were a part of that. No, if they are asking you a specific competency, they are asking you uh, of the competency that you have exemplified in your experience. So please talk about yourself. Okay. Tell them the action that you took in that situation. What was the result of that situation? Okay. Of course, if there are competencies like collaboration, teamwork, etc., okay, then you definitely talk about we and we did this together and all of that, because the competency is very different. But if it is about you are being asked about, give me an example when you portrayed a leadership, portrayed leadership. Give me an example when you portrayed decision making. Give me an example when you were innovative. Give me an example when you manage stakeholders very well. Please understand, talk about what you did. Do not talk about, because what the interviewer is really looking for is your contribution in it, not the contribution of the team. And you would want to highlight your contribution. Another point that I would want to make right now here would be, uh, generally we think we will have to answer questions in an interview. uh, Take my word on this, a lot of times the interview can be shaped the way you would want the interview to be shaped. And what do I mean when I say this? I mean this, that if they are asking you about a specific competency and why you explain the whole story around the SCAR technique of that competency, you can in the end leave the interviewer with a bait where the interviewer then picks it up and asks you a question that you would want the interviewer to ask. So let me again give you an example about myself, and my apologies, I'm an HR professional, so I mostly talk about the competencies and everything around HR, but this can be actually built into any kind of functional or any exposure that you come in with. So for example, if I'm explaining the interviewer about stakeholder management, right, I will in the end it by saying that as a result of the stakeholder management, this was the kind of ROI that was received on a training that we had conducted. Now, I'm part of an FMCG organization. The kind of ROIs that you get on training would be the number of SKUs being sold in a shop had increased, or the number of shops that we were selling with increased, or something like that. The moment I leave the interviewer with a very result oriented, hard hitting fact, what happens is that the interviewer will get very excited to know, but really, how did you make that happen? Right? And that very moment, I will use my experience to explain that. So, net net, what am I trying to tell you here? I'm trying to tell you two things. One, use the SCAR technique to make your experiences and the way you tell them effective. Okay, because you clearly explain situation, challenge, action, and result. The second thing is, it is for you to shape the interview the way you want to shape it. Okay, it is not just answering questions to the person who's sitting on the other side. Answer questions and leave them with instances and dates that they pick those up and ask you those questions. Right? Gayatri, am I clear till now?
Yes, Harshita, you are.
I see a question where someone is saying that will the presentation be available? I'll send the presentation off to you, Gayatri. You can share it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we move on. So what are the kind of, where are the places that you can use SCAR stories in? I have just jotted down some of them, but in my view and in my experience, in my own usage, you can use SCAR techniques for any kind of situation that you're trying to explain in an interview, whether it's a behavioral competency, whether it is a functional competency. So let's go ahead and see where typically you can use SCAR when you're trying to show that, something around leadership, dealing with a difficult person, motivating others, showing flexibility, adaptability, negotiating with someone, setting and achieving a goal, giving or receiving feedback, showing initiative. So any of the things which is being judged uh, in you during the interview, any of these can have a SCAR story linked to them that you can explain. Okay, so SCAR is the situation, challenge, action, and result format of giving an interview is something which can be used at any point in time and in any situation. Moving on, I specifically wanted to talk about this piece because, and Gayatri can help me in terms of the split of the audience for this webinar. We've seen that a lot of people, a lot of us do take career breaks in our career, and for a number of reasons, which is just again lost my slide. I know what I'm doing. Just a sec, guys. Gayatri, I've lost my slide again. Yeah. Okay. Can you see the slide now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, why I specifically wanted to talk about this thing is because a lot of us have a lot of apprehension when we say that I'm going to go back after a career break, and either we feel we've lost out on that specific time, and that is why we are starting on a back foot compared to the people of our age or our experience or whatever. And I've also seen extremely competent people who had a career break um, come back, and their whole demeanor, their whole body language during an interview is very passive, right? So why I specifically wanted to talk about this piece here was because it is a very well-known fact today in the job market, and an acceptable fact, that women or men, to be very honest, do take career breaks for a number of reasons, whether it's childbirth, whether it's health issues, whether your spouse has moved to another place. They do take career breaks, and it is normal, right? So the most important thing that you need, or any of you who's in this situation needs to really put in your head and be confident about, is the fact that career breaks are very normal, right? And the acceptability of the same in the job market is there, right? So please don't think that if you're going into the career break, you're starting somewhere lesser than any other candidate who would be going for that job, right? So that's point number one that I wanted to mention. And I'm telling you, as an experienced talent acquisition person who interviews people, who's taken people, um, the only thing which makes today a cut for the job is the fact that you should have the skills that are needed for that job, right? There is no other criteria today for which a person is looked for. The person is purely looked for skills that are needed for the job and the experience. So if you match that for a job, and if the interviewer during the interview gets a sense that you have the skills and the experiences, that's about it. There is nothing about whether you've taken a break for so long, not taken a break, or whatever. So it is important for you to be confident about your decision, that you took a break because of decision ABC, and you're coming back because of ABC, right? So one normal questions, and to be very honest, that we also ask people who come back to us, and if they are coming back from a career break, is the question that, so two questions we sort of try asking from them is, one saying, you've been on a break, right? How have you kept yourself updated with skills or things that would have moved in your area of work? Have you done anything about it? So make sure that while you're on a break, if it's possible, keep yourself updated with what's happening in the functional area that you worked in, or which is your strength. The other thing is that as a recruiter, I will always want to understand that you took a break, say, because you wanted to take care of your kid. So now, when you're coming back, what is the um, arrangement that you have so that that's taken care of? Why am I trying to probe into it? Is because of the fact that I want to understand that the person has dealt with that, and the person has support, and the person can fully concentrate on the job, right? So those are the two things you should be very clear in your head, and you should be able to confidently talk about it, right? Moving on to the next piece, that one line that I've written on, focus your scar on how the break helped you become more confident and how you enhanced your skills. Okay, so I'll give you an example around this, and I would want to spend, say, a couple of more minutes on this slide. Is that I've had women who've interviewed with us who very nicely put together the whole career break piece. And let me give you an example. Um, so we had a woman who came in for a job, and I don't clearly remember which one that was. But the way she put across the fact that she had taken a career break to juggle with three small kids at home, and she had to sort of be there for that, and she had to give up her career for that 1.5 to 2 years. She actually put it so beautifully, saying that, at that point in time, I was able to not only multitask and juggle with three kids at three different ages with three different requirements, that it really has made me someone who can, one, multitask and technically handle anything that you throw at me, right? So my point is, be extremely confident of the fact that you took a break because of a very valid reason, and it is on you. How do you, sort of place your break, place your experience back in a way that tells that yes, the person was thinking, the person was up, and the person was constantly growing, even when the person was on break. But remember a very important thing again, and I would want to mention to you again, to all of you during our conversation today, is the fact that taking a career break is a very normal thing. Gayatri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Because it says your audio connection was lost and then it's restored. So I'll just check it. Okay, so just moving on. As we have said, and we have tried of talking about what is the different things that you should do during an interview. So let's start with saying now we are talking about the time of the interview. We're in the interview. So till now we were talking more about how do you prepare yourself for an interview. How do you sort of put a lot of your thoughts together, whether it's through SCAR, whether it's through about reading the company. How do you do that? Now let's see what we do when we are in the interview, right? It is a very professional thing to do and also shows a lot of seriousness when you arrive well in time for the interview. So please plan and arrive at least 10 to 15 minutes before the interview. Just a sec. Sorry for that. So prepare, arrive 10 to 15 minutes before the interview. Um, Dress very professionally for the interview. So, a lot of times people will walk in on a Friday and they will be casually dressed because that's generally acceptable from a Friday dressing point of view in a lot of companies. But we would recommend that any point in time that you go in for an interview, be very formally dressed um, uh, and I'll take care of that. Of, it is but natural that the talent acquisition team should have a copy of your resumes, but do carry copies of your resumes and because that's important. Again, know the names of the people, not only know the names of the people as we've discussed earlier, but also research a little bit on the people that you're interviewing with, right? It is very, very important. Carry a notebook. It is but natural if you want to make notes during the interview. So here I want to tell you one more thing, and I have it in my other slides and the discussion forward is the fact that if you want to sort of take a minute at any point in time in the interview, take a minute and then respond to a question. It is okay to do that. Okay, so please ask the interviewer saying, "Give me 30 seconds, give me a minute. I would just want to collect my thoughts and then give an answer." Then we say, during the interview, what do you do? Some very simple tips. Establish a very clear eye connect. Okay, carry a smile and no chewing gums and other distractions. So don't fiddle with your hands. Don't fiddle with a pen. Don't have any distractions because, like you are spending that time in that interaction. The person or persons sitting in front of you are also spending that while they are interviewing you. Project confidence. There should be a firm handshake. As I mentioned, don't fidget. Firm tone of voice. Don't speak too fast or cut words. People, please remember that all of this will come if you've really done a little bit of preparation and mock for yourself during an interview. A lot of times, for example, I also speak very fast. But when I'm going in an interview, I always am very conscious of the fact that I speak slowly and I definitely speak slowly and very confidently, trying to explain anything around pieces where I think which are important for the person sitting right in front of me. Okay, so please take care of these simple things. Listen well and understand the essence of every question. Let the interviewer complete their thought. Don't rush to answer. Clarify when required. Okay, so listen well, then answer. Take a minute if you want to. Let them complete their thought. You might know the answer to what they are saying, but do not jump to answering that, right? And please clarify when required. So if you think that the person sitting in front of you has not understood your point and is rephrasing it another way, please re-clarify to the person by saying, may I just, so I meant this, but I didn't mean that. right? You have the right to do it. Answer precisely. Okay, no, people are spending time in that interaction and they are making a choice and an impression about you. So please think before answering. Take a minute if needed. Answer with clarity with specific question, the specific question. So if there's a question, answer with full clarity. Take 30 seconds, not a problem. Repeat the question if required to ensure you've understood it clearly. So if you've not understood, ask them, can you please repeat the question? It'll help me answer it clearly. There is no harm in doing that. Nobody takes offense anymore in such things in an interview. During the interview, as I mentioned, answer technical. So there is a technical content or a functional content of your interview. Answer technical questions in detail, demonstrating subject matter expertise, use pen and paper when required, and also talk about potential pitfalls and benefits of the approach taken. So any approach that you had taken during the SCAR technique and saying this is the action I had taken, you can always say that the approach was beneficial in this way, and if you also know there were some pitfalls, it is no harm in talking about even pitfalls. Specifically for people who are coming with a technical or a financial or a marketing background, it is always very good if you take up, say, can I have a pen and a paper and explain that to you? That again reflects your seriousness and preparedness for the interview, which is good. Show your passion in your understanding of technical skills. Talk about alternative approaches wherever it's applicable. Show that you are a constant learner on technical skills by sharing latest developments and innovations. So each one of us in our field gets to know about latest innovations and developments which would have happened. Do talk about them during an interview because it only shows that you've kept yourself updated and you've not lost touch, right? Moving on, share accomplishments, accolades on technical skills to demonstrate your expertise. Behavioral content, when you're talking about behavioral interviews, what you do is soft skills are equally important. Share scars of integrity, teamwork, flexibility, initiative, leadership. Be very specific, demonstrating clear impact of your actions. As I said, if you've taken an action, there has to be a result. Result, if quantifiable, is always better to explain, right? Quantify your results. What did it lead to? Percentage of growth, business increment, cost saving, anything that it would have led to. The more you show hard results, the better it is. Don't show negativity, don't slam your previous organization. So this is another point, guys, you really need to focus on is that we might have had the worst of the experiences in our earlier organization. Do not talk badly about your earlier organizations ever in an interview, even if you've had a bad experience. Okay, it just doesn't show a very good professional attitude in that way, right? Ask questions to understand specific behavioral needs and demonstrate clear fits. Again, I'm saying ask them, my understanding of the role, what you're looking for is 1, 2, 3. Is there anything else that you're looking for? Because it will help me explain my experience around those pieces also. You can do that in an interview. Okay? Show enthusiasm about the organization and the role. Caution, don't overdo this. It might start looking fake. So be a little natural and normal, right? After the interview, and I'm again going to reiterate this, it is a more candidate-oriented market. Candidate today is more powerful than the organization who's offering the job. So after the interview, please send a thank you note over the email to whoever you are in touch with, either it's the recruiter or the HR person. Reiterate your interest and fit as appropriate. Show interest by following up with the HR team. Caution, again, don't do it too much. Once in a month is good enough, or once in 15 days is good enough. Share references and documents promptly if required, if asked, and that's about it. Thank you so much, Gayatri, for organizing it. I hope all of you got something to go back with. I'm more than open. Gayatri has my email ID. Definitely write to me if in any other way I can be of any assistance to any of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Right. And also, ladies, Harshita is our featured mentor on our portal. So please go to our mentor page on Jobs for Her portal, and you can follow her on the mentor page. To get more updates on the Jobs for Her portal, visit us or follow us on Facebook and Twitter pages. And thank you for attending the webinar.